Hey all, it's Matt, your average gamer. Today we're going to be diving into some of the most fun setups in Elden Ring, hybrid builds. Hybrid builds usually consist of using two different damage stats together to make powerful and versatile builds. Some examples are Strength and Faith, Strength and Intelligence, and Faith and Arcane. All good options we're going to be covering today. Even if you're capping your levels at rune level 150, there's still a lot you could do with hybrid builds. Today we've got 8 different hybrid builds that I've ranked from the least powerful to the most powerful ones to try out. All are solid options and can be a lot of fun to use too. Get ready to learn about all different types of combinations and how to use them to good effect. This is hybrid builds in Elden Ring. There's a lot of information in this one that I've put throughout the video, and I hope everybody enjoys this. Let's jump in. In number 8 we have the Grafted Dragon Fire build, which is based around a weapon that's from Godric's Remembrance, which you receive upon defeating him. This is a fist weapon that scales with Strength and Faith. The contact with the weapon will scale with Strength, and the fire will scale with Faith. This Ash combos well together with Burn of Flame and the Flame of Frenzy for massive fire damage. The concept behind this one is to get as much fire damage as you can, and if possible, make contact with the weapon on the Ash for added damage. When utilizing these different fire options together, you can handle the bigger bosses in the game easily. For smaller bosses, add in incantations like Catch Flame or Black Flame. Both would work perfect with this build. The Frenzy Seal passively boosts Flame of Frenzy incantations, while other great choices are the Godslayer Seal for Black Flame incantations and Giant Seal for Burn of Flame and Giant's Flame Take Thee. This is an awesome build to try out if you're trying a Pyro run, by the way. If you enjoyed the Pyro builds in Dark Souls, definitely give something like this a try. You'll really enjoy it in Elden Ring, as fire can be a lot of fun. By the way, comment below your favorite hybrid build. I'm curious as to what your favorite hybrid combination is in Elden Ring. Be sure to comment that below, and if throughout the video there's any future hybrid builds you'd like to see, comment that too. In a second here, we're going to jump into equipment and stats. For equipment, we have the Grafted Dragon plus 10. You want to upgrade whatever seal you're using, in this case the Giant Seal. The Frenzied Seal is better for the passive boost. We hit 51 poise. We have the Ritual Swords Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Fire Scorpion Charm, Godfrey Icon. We have the Flame tier, Faith tier. By the way, a Flame Art Iron Greatsword is an awesome secondary weapon. Let's talk about stats. We have 60 Vigor, 21 Mind, 26 Endurance, we have 40 Strength, we have 60 Faith with the Faith tier. We're using Golden Vow, Halisher Brewery, Burn of Flame, and the Flame of Frenzy. In number 7 we have Waves of Darkness, an Astral War that scales with Strength and Intelligence. This Astral War will activate several waves of magic damage, and it has a follow-up attack that scales with your weapon's AR. We also have Guts Greatsword, that's the big Greatsword, in Cold Affinity, giving us around 800 AR and 153 Frost build-up. We can cast spells with Lucett's Staff, which will give us around 314 scaling. This is an awesome combination build for Strength and Intelligence that could build up Frost fast, and more to the point, we finally have a Waves of Darkness build on the channel for those that like Strength and Intelligence. In a second here, we're going to go over equipment and stats for this build. For equipment, we have Guts Greatsword in Cold Affinity with Waves of Darkness. We have Golden Vow Ash of War on a Dagger. We have Lucett's Staff. We hit 51 poise. You can check out the armor set there. We have the Ritual Swords Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Magic Scorpion Charm, Arsenal Charm plus 1. We have the Magic tier and Strength tier. Let's jump into stats for this one. And now going into stats for this Strength and Intelligence build, we have 55 Vigor, sacrificed a little Vigor, not a lot, 21 Mind, 30 Endurance, 42 Strength, 63 when we're two-handing it, and 60 Intelligence. And we have the Golden Vow Ash of War as our only buff aside from Terra Magica, which we're also using if you're standing in the same spot. I like Shard Spiral, Glintstone Icecrag, Comet, Stars of Ruin, and a Duelist Moonblade too. At number 6 we have the Magic Bonk build, which utilizes both Guts Greatsword and Heavy Affinity and Scholar's Armament. Our AR will be around 950, a little bit over 950, and at a bit higher levels, by the way, you would get over 1000 AR with this combination. That's because we are getting around an additional 235 magic damage from Scholar's Armament on top of the over 700 AR and Heavy Affinity. This build also uses Lion's Claw for massive poise damage. All footage is on New Game Plus 7, of course, and we're consistently hitting for 3000 damage with each use of the Ash. You are at your leisure to mix in spells here too, with Glintstone Icecrag a solid choice to get the frost damage debuff. If you're ever having trouble with Commander Niall, remember, his attacks are relatively slow. If you don't get greedy, you'll have a lot of windows to use Lion's Claw or to cast your spells. If you add in Terra Magica, you'll get another 35% damage to all of the magic at your disposal. This is an excellent strength and intelligence combination to take advantage of weapon buffs and spells. You could use this on the Giant Crusher, by the way, at high levels for insanely high AR. Most bosses won't stand a chance against your Magic Bonk build. At higher levels too, you'll get more from Scholar's Armament if you're a strength and intelligence build, and you also get more physical damage from stuff like Guts Greatsword and the Giant Crusher in heavy affinity. This is a very fun combination to use too, because you could take any of the bigger weapons in the game, end up using Scholar's Armament in combination with spells, boost magic damage, and you'll get a lot of damage out of everything that you're using for a great combination strength and intelligence build. If you notice at the end, I get really patient here too towards the end, which is a huge payoff for his attack patterns. His attack patterns are very anti-melee if you get greedy, so make sure that you have patience and you'll get through the fight easily. If you mix in ranged attacks, even the Frost debuff, he's actually not immune to Frost, so you can get a Frost proc or two in there. He can take extra damage, and you'll take him down quickly by being patient. Let's jump into equipment and stats. For equipment, we have Guts Greatsword and Heavy Affinity. We have Golden Vow, Ash of War on the dagger. We have Lucett's Staff. We hit 51 poise again. We have the Ritual Swords Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Magic Scorpion Charm. We have the Arsenal Charm +1, Magic tier. We have the Strength tier 2. Let's jump into stats. For stats, we sacrificed a little Vigor again. We have 55 Vigor, 21 Mind, 30 Endurance, 42 Strength, 63 when we're two-handing it, 60 Intelligence. Same as the last build, you could try out both. And then we're using Terra Magica, Scholar's Armament, or Scholar's Shield, either one if you want to use some defense, Scholar's Shield, Glintstone Ice Crag, and Stars of Ruin. At number 5, we have a Faith tank build, which is a bit of a different hybrid build. This build uses Faith, some Strength, good Vigor, and a lot of Endurance to carry a decent equipment load. We have chosen the Tree Sentinel set here, which is one of the best, if not the best armor in Elden Ring for the weight. This set can be found in Ariza's Hero's Grave in the Atlas Plateau after destroying the chariots there. Using Blessings of the Erd Tree, Golden Vow, and Black Flame's protection to tank hits and get some extra HP. We've also got Dragon Crest, the Opaline Hard tier, and Endure on a dagger for complete defense. When activating Endure, we'll have nearly 90% physical damage resistance and often will take chip damage from the toughest of bosses on New Game Plus 7. This build also uses the Ash of War Taker's Flame to regen HP and for good fire damage. The concept here is simple. Be a complete tank and be unstoppable. You're going to be able to take a lot of hits with this build. Both Morgoth's and Radahn's Great Rune are excellent choices here too, and you should activate one of them when you have them for this build. The more Vigor, the better. As we always say, level Vigor, and that couldn't be more true here. Definitely make sure for this build you have 60 Vigor, and a good amount of it you can add on to it with Erdtree's Favorite +2, Morgoth's Great Rune, and as we mentioned, Radahn's Great Rune as well. If you're at a high level and you want even more defense, what you could do is use the Bullgoat set. You're going to need more endurance, probably 5-10 more levels of endurance for that set, but once you have that set, you could take even more hits with even more physical damage resistance. This is one of my favorite builds on this list, not only because it focuses on Faith and the Blasphemous Blade, which is always reliable, giving you back huge amounts of HP, but also because you can see here we're able to go toe-to-toe with the Crucible Knight and take a good amount of damage from a boss that typically does a lot of physical damage. This is a great build to try out if you're ever struggling in Elden Ring. You'll be able to walk through even the late game bosses with an awesome setup like this. If I could take hits from the Crucible Knight on New Game Plus 7, so can you. For a lot of the bosses in the game, this is a solid build and setup. Let's jump into equipment and stats. For equipment, we have the Blasphemous Blade +10. We have Endure on any dagger will do. We have the Erdtree Seal. We have the Tree Sentinel set on. We have the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Greed Turtle Talisman. I meant to have the Ritual Shield Talisman equipped, but I forgot to equip it. I had unequipped it and then forgot to re-equip it. That's an awesome one for this build too. We have the Shard of Alexander, and then for our tier, we have the Opaline Hard tier and Faith tier. And now we're going to jump right into stats for this awesome tank Faith build. We have 60 Vigor, 23 Mind, 40 Endurance, 23 Strength, 15 Dexterity, and 50 Faith with the Faith tier. And we're using Golden Vow and Black Flame's protection for some defense and Blessings of the Erdtree for HP. At number 4, we have combination build using Malachi's Black Blade Incantation, and Black Flame. This is a build that's built around percentage damage as well as fire damage, and this one could do both very well. Malachi's Black Blade has very high AR and scales well with Strength and Faith, the two damage stats for this build. Use Malachi's Black Blade up close, Black Blade Incantation at a mid-range, and Black Flame from far for best effect. You'll enjoy the amount of percentage damage you are taking off the boss's HP, with the ability to debuff enemy health bars too. The Black Blade Sword and Incantation stack, so you can stack the percentage damage together for big chunks of damage. Give this one a try for a solid Holy and Fire build. If you're looking for a powerful Strength and Faith weapon, by the way, the Black Blade Sword is excellent for that. Having close to around 1000 AR, does a lot of damage, and scales really well with both Strength and Faith. One thing to mention real quick, if you've been watching to this point and you're not subbed yet, definitely be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more awesome Elden Ring content, and if you want some really powerful builds when Elden Ring's DLC comes around, which by the way at the point of this video being released will be less than 6 weeks away. I cannot wait. Yeah, we're almost to the DLC. We're so close. It's right around the corner. It's not too far away at all. It's going to be here before we know it. And FromSoftware never usually disappoints, so it's going to be some awesome DLC. By the way, you got that combination build here with the Black Blade Sword and the Black Blade Incantation. A solid combo. Let's jump into equipment. And for equipment, we have Malachi's Black Blade plus 10. We have the Godslayer Seal plus 25 for Black Flame. We hit 51 poise. Arsenal Charm plus 1, we have the Shard of Alexander, Sacred Scorpion Charm, we have the Godfrey icon to charge Black Flame, we have the Holy tier, we have the Faith tier. Let's talk about stats for this one. And for stats, we have 60 Vigor, 21 Mind, 26 Endurance, we have 40 Strength, where we're two-handing this at 60, because you get the 1.5 times Strength bonus, we have 60 Faith with the Faith tier. And we're using Golden Vow and Hellish Brewery, the buff incantations, to increase our damage by 40% in total. And then, of course, we're using the Black Blade incantation, which stacks with the Black Blade and Black Flame. At number 3, we have Mohg with Sacred Spear in combination with the Swarm of Flies incantation. The concept here is to use Mohg Spear up close for massive fire and bleed damage, and then back up with Swarm of Flies for continuously building up bleed. This is a good combo, and the Dragon Communion Seal will give you between 329 and 341 scaling with this build, depending on if you use the Faith tier. We have 50 Arcane, so our damage on Mohg with Sacred Spear is very good, and it's still one of the most broken weapons to build around in Elden Ring. Try this build out if you're looking for a destructive bleed build that can handle bosses from a good distance too. With a build like this, you're going to continuously build up the bleed meter on the majority of the bosses in the game, and you can take them down quickly too. This is a powerful one that is built around Arcane and Faith. This is a Faith and Arcane build, and a powerful one too. Let's jump into equipment and stats. For equipment, we have Mohg with Sacred Spear, we have the Dragon Communion Seal, we have the White Mask, we hit 51 poise. We have the Ritual Swords Talisman, we have the Shard of Alexander, we have the Fire Scorpion Charm, we have Lord of Blood's Exaltation, and then for our tiers, we have the Flame tier and Strength tier. Let's jump into stats. And for stats on this one, we have 55 Vigor, a little less Vigor again, but not too bad, 22 Mind, 25 Endurance, we have 28 Strength, but I think when we're two-handing it, it's going to give us a pretty good amount, around 42, 17 Dexterity, 35 Faith, 50 Arcane. Then for the combo I'm using here, Golden Vow, Ash of War, Hellish Brewery, and then we're using Swarm of Flies. You can add in Blood Flame Talons and Pest Threads. In number 2, we have the Bloodblade Dragon build, one of my favorites in the game. This is one I can't recommend enough, as it's excellent for doing Frost with Dragon Ice and Bleed with Bloodblade from a mid-range. The Bloodblade Ash of War can destroy Mohg, by the way, Mohg, and it pairs well with the Nagakiba for great damage. The extra range on the Nagakiba is a nice bonus, as making contact with Bloodblade, if you're able to do so, will do additional bleed. This combination is ridiculously good for quick bleed buildup in combo with Dragon Incantations. Like the last build, this focuses on Faith and Arcane, very overpowered when used together. Something worth mentioning here too that's important as well, if you use the Faith tier, I mentioned this earlier, you hit around 341 scaling, which is really good scaling for a seal at rune level 150, so if you use a passive boost in your offhand, you could run a host of different incantations and take advantage of the high scaling. An example would be taking advantage of the high scaling would be use the Gravelstone Seal in your offhand and then cast Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike with the Dragon Communion Seal. It's a solid option. For equipment, we have the Nagakiba on Occult with Bloodblade, Dragon Communion Seal, White Mass, hit 51 poise. We have Melisand's Prosthesis, Shard of Alexander, Aurora Medallion. We have Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Thorny tier, Fate tier. We're using Mohg Shackle to stun the boss. Let's talk about stats. For stats, you could use the last two builds together. They're the same stats. 55 Vigor, 22 Mind, 25 Endurance, 18 Strength, 22 Dexterity, 45 Faith, 50 Arcane. Then we're using Golden Vow and Hellish Brewery to boost our damage. And then for a range, the Dragon Incantations I like are Dragon Ice, Rot Breath, and Glintstone Breath for a solid build. And then now I'm going to show another alternative option. If you don't like Bloodblade, you could run the exact same setup. I like using Dragon Ice first for the debuff, get a lot of damage, get the Frost build up, have the debuff, and then you could run Double Slash with the same stats and setup. Don't need to change anything here, and it's a solid alternative option. You have an Occult Nagakiba with Double Slash. Next up here. At number 1, we have the best on here, and it has 3 different options and styles of play I'm going to show off. The first is to use Bloodflame Blade on Bloodhound's Fang in combination with Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. This is a Faith and Dexterity build with a little bit of strength as well. The idea here is simple. Get Lord of Bloods and the White Mask to proc for 30% more generic damage, and then cast Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike when you have the extra damage buff. This can lead to huge casts of lightning that could easily finish off the toughest of bosses with that damage boost. Bloodhound's Fang also does amazing poise damage and can frequently break the biggest of foes. This combination is highly recommended and one you should absolutely try. And we're able to take the Magma down with that combination build. Now he did get locked into using the same moveset, so we got a little bit lucky there, but overall we got a good bleed proc in there, some good damage overall, and then at the end using Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike for massive damage. Let's jump into equipment and stats for this one. Now, I was messing around with different seals for the damage buff on Bloodflame Blade. There wasn't a huge difference, so you're going to want to run Bloodhound's Fang and then the Gravelstone seal. We have the White Mask, we have 51 Poise, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Shard of Alexander, Lightning Scorpion Charm, Godfrey Icon, Strength tier, and Faith tier. Yeah, you get a little more fire damage with the Godslayer seal at 60 Faith because it scales a little higher, but it's not really worth it. In the end, you should go with Gravelstone and get that boost for Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. We have 55 Vigor, we have 45 Strength with 2-handing and 40 Dexterity, 60 Faith with the Faith tier, Golden Vow, Hellish Rebury, Bloodflame Blade, and Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. Alternatively, you can go for full Lightning and use Electrify Armament. This will give Bloodhound's Fang around 850 AR, it's around 860 in total, doing solid damage in between using Lightning incantations. This is a great way to run a fun Dexterity and Faith build that could also do solid damage. You'll get some innate bleed on the weapon here, but the concept here is for great lightning damage. You should try this one out if you like the idea of a lightning sword with lightning incantations included. For range, I really like Lightning Spear, and in a second here after this first dragon's gone, because I wanted to show off the Ash with Electrify Armament, we're going to use Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike on the other dragon here in Kaled. I like to test a lot of these dragons, by the way, because they're respawning mini-bosses and have around 10,000 HP on New Game Plus 7. Alright, and let's see how much damage we can do with Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. I believe we're going to get over 10,000 damage here using the Gravelstone Seal, as I mentioned in the last clip. That goes perfectly with this, and then Electrify Armament on Bloodhound's Fang will give you good AR too, and of course you'll get the poise damage on Bloodhound's Finesse. Let's jump into equipment. So one other small mistake here. We have Bloodhound's Fang, Electrify Armament, we have the Gravelstone Seal, hit 51 poise. We have the Ritual Sword, Talisman, Shard of Alexander. That's meant to be the Lightning Scorpion Charm. I'm going to mention something in a second. Godfrey Icon, Lightning tier, and Faith tier. I'm going to show a Black Flame version, which is really quick, but yeah, I had the Sacred Scorpion Charm because I was messing around with the Holy buff too. All different kind of weapons buffs and things you could do to build around Bloodhound's Fang. I was trying out a whole bunch of different things. These are the 3 that ended up making it that I like the most, because Holy is so resisted, but that's another option you do have too. So the last option is Black Flame. It uses Black Flame Blade. As you can see, I was able to get good damage, but it only lasts about 10 seconds. So you're going to get some fire damage and percentage damage on Bloodhound's Fang, and again, around over 800 AR or so, which isn't bad. We're going to jump into equipment now. For equipment, we have Bloodhound's Fang plus 10. We're using Black Flame Blade. We have the Godslayer Seal. We hit 51 poise. Ritual Sword, Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Fire Scorpion Charm, Godfrey Icon, Flame tier, and we have the Faith tier too. This is a solid setup, and I recommend adding in Black Flame Fireball too. Thanks for watching this one. I hope everyone enjoyed my top 8 powerful hybrid builds in Elden Ring. These are fun options that utilize a whole bunch of different combinations to get solid damage while also having a great time. If you want to see more hybrid builds, comment below. Don't forget to subscribe as well, as you don't want to miss out on weekly Elden Ring content. Catch everyone soon. Thanks for watching, and keep in mind, DLC is right around the corner. It's almost here. Catch everyone soon.